is Robert Gutschale. I work at a company called Blue Shoe. We are basically based in Munich, but now are a fully remote company. And we are a software agency and also do some open source development in the realm of Kubernetes and cloud native development. I'm super happy that my talk got accepted at KCD Austria. The title was Looking into the Rabbit Hole of Virtualized Kubernetes Clusters. And actually, I was giving away free Kubernetes clusters during my talk, so you might want to check it out to find out how you get your free cluster. And I was talking basically about the concept of virtualized Kubernetes clusters, our journey as a company, what led us there, and how you can achieve virtualized Kubernetes clusters by using our tool called GetDeck. GetDeck is somewhat similar to vCluster. vCluster is probably the biggest player on the market for virtualized Kubernetes clusters. They achieve it by provisioning dedicated namespaces. However, the actual workloads are synced to the host cluster. So a pod you're running in your virtualized cluster is running actually on the host cluster. Whereas with GetDeck, we provide fully virtualized Kubernetes clusters. So we're running K3s in Kubernetes, and your workloads only run inside of those virtualized clusters and are not getting synced back. And also one killer feature of GetDeck is you have the ability to store the state of a cluster, so to speak of to shelf your cluster. You can store it and you can restore it later, giving you the ability. For example, I'm now at KCD Austria for a couple of days, and all my development clusters, I can store the state, I can delete them. We don't have to pay for those cloud clusters anymore. And afterwards, if I continue my work on those projects, I can just spin them up in like 1 minute and work again on those dev clusters. Yeah, GetDeck makes it very easy to connect to your cluster. You can either use the so-called ByBoatCTL, a CLI tool, which is probably for the more advanced user, for the more DevOps developer. But traditional software developers might not want to become a Kubernetes specialist. So there is the GetDeck desktop app for them, which makes it very easy to configure a cluster and also with just one click to get the kubeconfig. You can export your kubeconfig to your local env and just interact with that cluster like with any regular Kubernetes cluster. So if a company wants to transition to virtual clusters, I would recommend using a tool such as GetDeck or vCluster. Of course, I'm very biased, so I would recommend GetDeck. But this makes it very, very easy to spin up those virtualized clusters. And of course, you could use regular cloud clusters. But no matter on which provisioner you are, you will wait for some amount of minutes, for maybe 10 minutes, until you can actually use your cluster. And a tool such as vCluster or GetDeck, I can speak for GetDeck from my experience, makes it possible to spin up that cluster in under 1 minute and also store and restore the state, which is like a killer feature for me. Because I can now, for one rather complex project, I can spin up that cluster and throw it away, and my development setup is not this precious thing anymore. And if it crashes, if I mess this thing up in any way, I can just throw it away and spin it up again. And so I can definitely make the recommendation to transition to virtualized Kubernetes cluster and use a tools such as vCluster or GetDeck, which are open source, which are great to use. If you want to learn more about GetDeck, you can just find us on GitHub. It's open source, of course. You can contribute. You can give us your experience with our tool. We want to be community driven, so please reach out to us if you use it and if you have positive or negative feedback. And you can also find it on the homepage getdeck.dev, where you can also click on the button Quick Start, which leads you through the process and how you get a free cluster. We provide a GetDeck as a service offering currently. You can test it, you can check it out and get your cluster for 4 hours until it removes itself again automatically.